Astra Travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. Last week, we talked about the Sacred Sakura, its many cleansings, and the creation of the tree at the center of Inazuma. This week, we'll be discussing our favorite Hydro Sword, Xingqiu, as well as the Feiyun Commerce Guild. Additionally, I want to remind travelers to visit talesoftevat.com to see visual representations of the lore mentioned during today's podcast. Your guides have put them together for you to make things a little easier to understand. On our site, you can also find some awesome goodies, including artist spotlights from the community for each episode, wallpapers for download, and a way to check out some of our favorite Genshin merch. Finally, feel free to email us at talesoftevatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. So let's talk about Xingqiu. I love Xingqiu personally. I have him on my B team, but that's okay. He has Ayato's sword for me because I love him that much. Ayato who?
Xingqiu is sadly one of the characters that I have C6 and I don't use at all.
Well,
I think I leveled him up to as far as I could on Fiend's birthday when she did a Twitch stream and we were all playing as Xingqiu and I was dying.
Oh my god, yeah.
Dying a lot.
The Shongyun birthday stream where it was only Shongyun, Xingqiu, and Shenhe allowed.
Yes.
And then we fought the Oceanid.
Oh god.
I wish I had $1 for every time I died. I'd be rich.
We'd be so rich. But Xingqiu, I think one of my favorite parts about him is that he really seems to go against the status quo for his family and seems to go a little bit against the status quo of Liyue as well. He is an author. He loves to prank his friends. And he also practices secret arts. He's very mysterious.
He has a lot going on. He's very multifaceted.
Yeah, which is weird for a 4-star, right?
Yeah.
Or is he a secret 5-star because he's one OP support?
He is, in my opinion, he's up there with Fischl as one of the most powerful 4-stars in the game.
Fischl, Xingqiu, Xiangling, and Sucrose, I would put in the top of 4-stars.
Okay. I also want to say, just on the 5-star, 4-star notion that Xingqiu is one of the only 4-stars that has a actual story quest, not a hangout, which is also interesting.
Well, wouldn't you say Yanfei sort of does too?
Yeah, that's true.
Officially?
That whole boring, that long, boring Yanfei quest where you're
you don't like paralegal shit?
No.
You don't like how we have to go and basically fill out
legal paperwork?
Yeah, legal paperwork. We just got to do an interrogatory, make sure we cover our bases, subpoena the right people, get the right records, as someone who lives in law. And then it dragged on and on.
Technically, if you look at our archives, Xingqiu, Razor, and one other character I can't remember off the top of my head are the only characters that are 4-star that are truly considered to have story quests. It could be Yanfei, besides Kaya and Lisa, of course, too, because they're in our demos.
Well, Yanfei's might have just been a part of the Archon quest.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because if you look at Razor, he has a lot of connections to Andreas and possibly Sino and stuff like that. So it's very interesting that he's a 4-star with a story, but he has some really important lore that we haven't probably heard enough about. And so I wonder if Xingqiu is going to be the same way.
Possibly.
I mean, the fact that we know very little about the Feiyun Commerce Guild, there's some hidden sneaky shit. Absolutely.
So let's talk about the guild a little bit. The Feiyun Commerce Guild is Xingqiu's family-run guild, basically. And they're in charge of a lot of or not in charge of, but they run a lot of trade routes, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, they do a lot of imports, exports, a lot of silk, more of the expensive goods, we would say, not necessarily food goods. It's more textiles and, big ticket items.
They are alluded to having their hands in all kinds of stuff, but they don't really point out very many specific things in the game. The only things I could find specifically, there might be more that I missed, but the ones that I could find are that they make silk, which is their most important trade that they do. And actually Xingqiu is in charge of that part of it. The other things that I could find they do are they publish books.
I thought that's what he was in charge of.
No, he's in charge of making silk, according to Shu of the Commerce Guild.
Or is he in charge of like the silk trade? Like not making it, but just like the trade of it.
Yeah, I don't think they make silk. They're trading.
Oh, okay.
He's too important to be making
I thought they
it.
made it and traded it. I could be wrong.
I thought they might have done both, but Xingqiu only traded it because he's not useless to the guild, but he does run off a lot.
He's not useless, but he's not useful either.
There's someone in Inazuma who has a little sister. I forget their name. I was reading about them before. I think it's Oyun or something. They have a little sister that loves fabric or something. And I remember he was saying that the Feiyun Commerce Guild makes silk that is unbelievably soft.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
So I believe they make it and trade it.
Okay.
I may have just convinced myself of that.
And it's because of the silk flowers are in Liyue.
Which is one of Xingqiu's level up materials.
Mhm.
Yeah. It makes sense. And I think the Feiyun Commerce Guild has a shop in Sumeru. I can't remember if it's actually like Sumeru City or
It's in Port Ormos.
Ormos.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's in Port Ormos. It's the best place. It's got the best music. It's amazing.
That's where the party happens.
The party.
That's like how they introduced it.
It's an NPC named Chioe. Not sure
I
if I'm
think
pronouncing
so.
that right. There's also one other thing that I found out that the Commerce Guild does, which is they make decorative umbrellas that for you to hang on your wall.
What?
Yeah.
I love
What
it.
a niche.
Useless, just like Xingqiu's point.
Somebody's got to make the decorations for my teapot.
Somebody's got to make the tchotchkes.
Mm-hmm.
Shotsky. Oh my god. Oh my
Also, I
god.
gotta say, whose little sister is obsessed with fabric? Like, what? That's a character trait? Like,
Maybe it was clothes or something.
There's the lady in Inazuma, like in the
So
actual city,
funny.
that has all the kimonos. And every time, if you're doing dailies in Inazuma, she'll ask you for certain items in Liyue or in Mondstadt to like amplify the dye or the fabric. So I'm like, I would figure it would be someone related to her because she has these beautiful kimonos.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the guild is like mad sus, though. Like, they just seem so much more important than like silk and umbrellas, if that makes sense. And they have a huge building. When you walk up the stairs in Liyue, like right ahead of you is the guild. It's huge.
Yeah, and it makes sense.
I think that's what always has confused me about it, is that it looks grandiose and it seems like there should be so much more that I'm always like, but this is it? Like, why is this even a big deal? You know, like it's the way it's portrayed almost seems more important than the facts of it. But I think it's like you said, I think that there's something else going on there that either we don't know about or don't know about yet.
Oh, I have a theory, and we'll get to there. But I've got a game theory.
Yeah, I was also going to say, without diving too deep, it's very interesting because they're very closely located to the Northland Bank, which is the bank led by the Fatui out of Snezhnaya in Liyue. So that's also really interesting that they're super close
Oh, wait,
by.
wait. Are you saying that it's going back to the Fatui?
Possibly, Tim. Possibly.
And this entire podcast simply on the Fatui. The whole thing, whole extravaganza of my ridiculous theories.
We don't need an episode on it. We just need to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I've looked it up, and here's what this sister is obsessed with fabric. She's the one who runs the freaking kimono shop in Inazuma.
That's amazing.
And so at some point you can talk to her brother, Ogura Yu.
Okay.
Or is that a guy? Ogura? You could talk to this person, Ogura Yu, and they are the sibling of that person who runs the kimono shop. And they say, you know, have you ever been to Liyue? The Feiyun Commerce Guild there produces silk that is as smooth as flowing water. It's used to make top shelf clothing. And I hear that's because it's of a locally grown red flower named silk flower that they can produce of such quality. If I get the chance, I'd love to bring my younger sister to Liyue and take a look at the silk flower fields.
Oh, that is so cute. Also, diverging from that, I hope if we ever get Traveler Cosmetics, aka we get to dress up in regional clothes, I hope that lady gets to give us a kimono. And
After
it's
we
cute.
turned her down, she's never going to offer us a kimono again.
We're just going to
Yeah.
come back at the next Iridori festival and it's like, hey, I want to have a date with Ayaka. Can you dress me in the prettiest kimono?
I was going to say, wasn't Ayaka going to buy us one even?
Yeah, she was.
She danced in her socks and we didn't even take a kimono.
Oh my god, not the sock.
Wet socks.
Wet socks.
Hashtag wet socks.
No.
Before I throw up, let's go back to the guild. So the guild is ran, and I'm assuming founded by Xingqiu's father and his older brother, who is the only family we know of besides his dad that Xingqiu has. And Xingqiu's brother is assumed to be taking over the guild for their father, which Xingqiu is like totally okay with because he doesn't want anything to do with the guild, but he is like a little nervous of what will happen to him if his brother takes over. But that's the only family we really hear about is this brother and dad, right?
There's one voice line about his mother.
Ooh, there's no dead mom here?
We don't know because he mentioned something in relation to her when he was a child.
Oh, so maybe dead mother.
Totally dead. Totally
He says,
dead.
I hate carrots. When I was young, my mother would mash them up into, ugh, I can't go on. Just thinking about it makes me feel sick.
Why would you mash up carrots?
I got
Get you some
questions.
ranch.
Is this some
Get you
baby
some
food
ranch.
shit?
I mean, that would make sense.
Xingqiu kill his mother
Over carrots? With
in
a carrot?
carrot freak out.
He just picked up a carrot and like chucked it at her like it was one of
Yeah.
his sword dagger
That's
things.
why he's so chivalrous now, is he's making up for this guilt.
Stop.
Just giving him the worst backstory.
And also, I found it interesting that you said that, Brandon, I'm going way back, that they publish books because Xingqiu is an author and his book did horrible in Liyue. And that's why he ended up going to Inazuma with his book.
Yeah, they wouldn't even publish it, which is hilarious because the Feiyun Commerce Guild published his book, but he couldn't get his book published in Liyue, so he snuck some of the copies of it onto the shelves of the local bookstore. What is it called? Wanmen Book House. And a wandering merchant or a passing merchant from Inazuma picked up a copy and took it back to Inazuma, where it became very famous.
I will say, as aspiring writers, there are many big corporations or publishing houses that will say, you got dog shit on this page. And then you'll go to a different place and it's like, this shit is fucking crack. This is amazing. So that kind of speaks a little bit to real life and how publishing can be. That's a sweet little nod of how like regionalities might not like it versus a different region or a different demographic is like, this is the best shit versus this is absolute dog shit.
I kind of thought that maybe his family was just like, nah.
That's
You ain't
what I
doing this.
thought.
Mm.
They were like, nah, we're business people, no arts.
Mhm.
F that.
Right. Did you all read his book?
I feel so attacked right now. You just asked me if I read someone's book.
Did you read Xingqiu's book?
Is he gonna hear this? Like, is he gonna know that I didn't finish it? Like,
Yes, he will. He'll know.
Christina V, I'm sorry.
I'm just sad that all y'all are like, his family hates him. Your dreams are crushed. You're the second son. You've got nowhere to go, but your dreams will be crushed anyway.
Well, it's not necessarily that his family hates him.
Well, of course they do. He killed his own mother.
Oh my
With the
god.
carrot, because she mashed up the carrots.
It's more so too, he doesn't like his family. He is very open about the fact that he does not want anything to do with guild work, that he does not have the same ideals of his brother and father, and that he's on a different like track than them.
If his brother's gonna take over the company, why the fuck do they care? That's a whole different
Image.
topic. Yeah, that's true. Image. Like, be obedient. Be a good little boy.
Brandon, give us like the No Fear Shakespeare, like Spark Notes version of the book.
So his book is called A Legend of Sword, and I didn't read it word for word, but I skimmed through most of it, and I was shocked to discover that it's a science fiction tale, which I was not expecting.
We got a little H.G. Wells. Ooh.
And I think a big part of the reason that it's so popular in Inazuma is that a lot of it is sort of set in Inazuma, like maybe like half of it. And then the other half is set in space, which makes me think that's why it's popular in Fontaine, because aren't they sort of like the steampunk, like futuristic type of area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're looking toward the stars.
Right. So it's also a nod to a real life series of Japanese science fiction novels called Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
Why does that sound so familiar?
I think it's been like it's a manga and it's been an anime or maybe even multiple animes that just came out. I think the most recent one just came out like in 2015 or something like that.
I need to check this shit out. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I think it only recently had like an English translated stuff come out around it, or like English rights, or I guess an English speaking company like bought the rights and released something somewhat recently. I didn't get too deep into it, but yeah, check out Legend of the Galactic Heroes and all its many iterations if you want to see some parallels, if you're familiar with A Legend of Sword, which I just always assumed that was like about some ancient warrior. No.
Yeah, some gua shit.
It's spaceships.
Not the spaceships. Like, does Xingqiu even know what a spaceship is?
I was thinking that too. I'm like, they've never been to space that we know of into that.
I mean, but they got rune guards, and there's that giant rune guard in Sumeru that when you go in, spoilers for a certain quest in Sumeru, I can't remember the name of it, but it almost is like a space station.
Yeah, it feels very Star Wars in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe because he is so smart and so creative. He just like, you know what? A rune guard with a rocket, we can go to space.
Well, it is kind of a Star Wars-ish series because it's sort of comparing and contrasting, from what I gathered, this like galactic battle with this farmer versus bandit battle in old Inazuma, and how they sort of are parallel in a way. That's probably not exactly accurate, but it's something like that based on what I skimmed.
Interesting. Okay. So I want to take a step back from the galaxy before we find like parallels to Leia and Luke or something in this book. And I want to take a little bit back to Xingqiu and who he is as a person. So we talked a little bit now about his book and him being like a really creative person. He reads a lot too. His brother thinks that he reads inappropriate things, but
yeah, that's one of my favorite little stories that's in I think it's a friendship that you unlock in his little friendship thing story about how, and Fiends, I know, can probably actually say it a little bit better than me. So I'll hand it over to you.
Oh, okay.
Tell the story.
Yeah, so Xingqiu basically in his friendship quest admits that he doesn't let people into his room because it's usually a mess. And he also technically, I believe, isn't allowed to read the books that he's reading about like swordsmanship and chivalry and justice. And he's actually very known to like cut out the pages of his textbooks and put like his novels in there instead to read like during school when he was younger. So Xingqiu hides all of his books under his bed. And I guess one day his brother was annoyed that Xingqiu couldn't keep his room clean and went in there and looked under the bed and saw a stack of books and was like, he's grown up. I don't need to know what these books are. And he just was like, no one will ever go in Xingqiu's room again. Very suggestive.
So gay. It's just so gay, which, you know, Xingqiu to me is one of the most heavily implied queer characters in the game, like right up there with Beto and Eula.
Absolutely.
Not surpassing them. To me, it's like there's a lot of these little moments. I mean, not to mention just aesthetically, Xingqiu is very sort of androgynous. Just when you're looking, you know, they use a female voice actor, which adds to it a little bit, wearing the fancy ruffles and everything. So there's sort of this like effeminate vibe to him compared to a lot of the other guy characters in the game. And then there's all these little moments, like the first time that he's introduced on Hoyo Lab by the official Genshin Impact account, it has a title, which is Rainbows Only Come After the Rain, which I was like, okay. And you know, whether or not Hoyo did this stuff on purpose, it's kind of besides the point, because if you're a queer person that's like playing the game, you're going to be like seeking out queer references and sort of identifying with them. So he's definitely a character that has a lot of those.
Yeah,
so there's Rainbows Only Come After the Rain. There's his older brother cleaning his room, finding these embarrassing books under his bed, which are martial arts novels. Like, why is that so embarrassing? But it's just the way that they say it, where he's like muttering to himself, like embarrassed, like, oh, these books under his bed, I shouldn't be looking at what kind of books they are. Xingqiu's growing up, he's going through puberty, and that's very like, yeah, like you found some gay magazines under your brother's bed. And then one of his voice lines to Traveler is, we should become sworn siblings. Let's go to the altar of Feiyun Karst. No ifs, no buts. You know too much about me. You know the real me, the one I normally have to hide. I simply can't let you go until you promise me you'll go through with it. So I know in the game, his personality, like he has this whole sort of storyline of like hiding who he really is from his family and from, more like these uppity rich people that he has to be around, these like high society leeway people. But he has to like hide this other part of himself, and he'll use this excuse of like, have to go spend some time alone, and then he's like off running around having his chivalrous adventures and like trying to be these heroes in his martial arts novels, and he's like living his actual truth, which is how he gets his vision. So that's just a very like queer storyline inherently. Also, Beto, every time Beto sees him, she ruffles his hair and calls him kid, and I thought that was really cute. But he doesn't like Ningguang.
He hates Ningguang.
He likes Auntie Beta, but does not enjoy Ningguang.
I gotta wonder why.
Can you talk about how he got his vision? You mentioned it there, but I don't think I actually know how he did.
I think he got his vision when he successfully mastered the Guhua Arts.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm not 100% sure if you want to look it up, Brandon, just to be safe, but I'm almost positive he got his vision when he was doing his training in the Guhua Arts, which I guess we should probably talk about a little bit about the Guhua Arts.
Guhua!
The Guhua Arts are a secret, not secret, but like an ancient...
It's a very old school of martial arts
that has mostly died off?
Yes, Xingqiu kind of revitalized it and brought it back. I think that was one of the book series we were getting for him in his story quest. And they call it the Guhua clan or the Guhua Brotherhood, and it's based off of the Adeptus Guhua, who was the original owner of Rain Slasher. But it's all based on his technique and is an Adeptus that ascended to the stars. Okay, Celestia.
And by owner of Rain Slasher is the sword?
The claymore, yeah. So Guhua is a claymore user, but Xingqiu uses that technique with a sword. And I think that might just be because he's human. He might not be as strong to carry a claymore. He revitalized the group, the Brotherhood, like the martial arts school, and has started to gain, students and those who are following Guhua. So he's got a lot of fingers in a lot of baskets.
Yeah, absolutely. And he hides this from his family as well, right? He doesn't let them know.
Yeah, if they want him to be only about business and economy and like money, and it's like you need to know how to do trade, that's your skill set, why are you spending all your time doing martial arts? I mean, it makes sense why they're like, you shouldn't focus there, you should focus here.
Well, along with the Guhua art, it's assumed that's how he got his vision. While it's not explicitly in the game itself, the fact that he kind of revitalized this martial arts school and they had him like pen some verses about it, and he was writing the principles and really understood those principles, which we can get into in a minute, but he kind of embodied it, and it's likely how he got his vision was actually kind of doing what he loves, which is awesome to think that, he was writing, doing martial arts and kind of being embraced in that situation, and people were like loving it. It's kind of heartwarming that that's how he got his vision.
And before we jump into the principles of Guhua, I think it's really interesting that he found like almost a chosen family in these people, which I think links back to what you were saying earlier too, Brandon, of it really following like the queer storyline too, of not being accepted. Not that it's the typical storyline by any stretch, but a queer story of line of like not being accepted at home and having to find people that you can connect with
and who love you for
right,
you.
that he feels at ease with. And we didn't even talk about Shang Yun.
Not yet. We're getting there. We're getting to the husband.
My body just started to like convulse. So I was like, oh. But yeah, what are the principles of Guhua? Because that's really where a lot of Xingqiu's like chivalry and sense of justice comes from as well, right?
I mean, all I know about Guhua is that it's a style of fighting for polearms and swords. And he was very interested and curious about it and took it very seriously. And his father sort of signed him up to learn some of it, knowing that the Guhua Brotherhood, as it was once called, has been in decline for hundreds of years at this point, and that there's hardly anyone left who's actually a disciple of it. And so when Xingqiu finds that out, he's like, well, this is some bullshit, and I'm going to bring it back. And he does.
Do we know the actual principle? I know we have the 3 secret arts, which are Light Piercer for the polearm users, Brain Cutter, which is what you hear Xingqiu say a lot for swords, and Life Ender for those who've mastered both polearms and swords. But do we have the list of principles that they go by other than being very chivalrous and doing like good deeds?
I always thought that was separate, that the chivalry was just stuff that he was taking from his novels, like his quote unquote martial arts, aka gay sex novels.
God. Yes, give me that Yahweh. It's the painter in the night.
I mean, come on, that's what it means, right? Martial arts.
Absolutely. There is no other interpretation.
Right. Martial arts equals gay sex. Right.
Just like when Greeks say wrestling, we know it's naked gay men just having the best sex.
But yeah, I took it as he gets this chivalrous thing from the heroes in these novels that he loves, but that Guhua was more about learning the sword art so that he could actually become a hero like them.
Oh, he wanted to be a hero. He is a hero.
Yeah, and that's also a thing too, is like Xingqiu at night, Xingqiu goes out like on the prowl basically to like defeat any bandits that come his way. He's like, I'm gonna fight people, I'm gonna save people. I'm gonna be the hero.
He's like the Liyue Dark Knight hero.
The Liyue Dark Knight.
Because he keeps it a secret.
And his ascension materials are like the hilichurl masks. So like he goes around beating up bad guys in quotes, because I think we all know at this point what hilichurls are. I mean, it's part of like getting him stronger. It's like this montage of him going through the night and running on rooftops in like Liyue Harbor and just beating the fuck out of hilichurls in like Fatui. It's great.
Yeah, and he also just does stuff as simple as, helping kids get their kites out of trees and stuff.
He's just a kind soul who deserves the best husband, aka Xiangyun.
Okay, so Popsicle Boy. I love Xiangyun, and so Xiangyun I knew a lot about before Xingqiu. So when I first heard about Xingqiu, I was like, oh, Xingqiu just prank Xiangyun. Like, Xingqiu is so well known to just be like that guy. For those of you who don't know Xiangyun, he can't have hot foods or he may possibly like lose control and overheat, as he has an imbalance in his yang energy. It's a whole thing. That's why he eats ice pops, and also why he has a cryovision. But Xingqiu will like purposely put like peppers, like hot peppers and chilies in his food, or have like Zhongling cook them something and be like, oh, it's not hot, Xiangyun, here, eat it.
He wants him to lose control so that they can make out fiercely behind the docks. I'm convinced. He's like,
you're like, let's go to the pier.
Let's go to the pier. You'll just take a dip in the water. You're going to be great. And they just have this glorious kiss as they're swimming. Anyway.
So Xingqiu pranks Xiangyun a lot. So at first glance, it just seems like they're buddies and that they mess around with each other. But they actually seem to have a great respect for one another. And Xingqiu will go out of his way to make up ghost stories because Xiangyun is an exorcist. And it's, again, a whole big thing about how Xiangyun can't exorcise demons, even though he's born into an exorcist family, because he has too much yang energy and it scares the ghosts away, so he can never even get close to them. So Xingqiu will make up ghost stories and stuff to help Xiangyun and to, like, in a helpful way, try to bring Xiangyun closer to meeting his goals of getting rid of ghosts. He's like, oh, I heard this crazy story, you should check it out. And at first it seems like, what an ass, like there's no ghost there. But in the end, it's almost like sweet. Like he's trying to make Xiangyun feel needed and make Xiangyun feel like he is trying to help. And the more you look into it, the two of them are literally seen everywhere together. They're in the Lantern Light previews together. Last year in Lantern Light, they were just like gallivanting in Kinsei Village together, like chasing treasure hoarders for fun.
They were having a date.
Yeah, basically we're actually having a date and had to cover it up. And they also reference each other quite often, and other people reference them as being not being together, but being with one another. So like Xinyan, when she talks about Xiangyun, she talks about like him showing up to a concert of hers and seeming really introverted, but being there with Xingqiu, and Xiangyun gets up on stage and starts singing. And Xingqiu's kind of there to be like, yeah, go up on stage. And Zhongling also mentions Xiangyun and Xingqiu together, saying that they always come to eat together at the Wanmin restaurant. She also specifically says, or perhaps should I say, I see him being dragged here by Xingqiu. And at the very end, she goes, they're quite interesting, those two.
It's very bossy bottom vibes. Like Xingqiu is the bossy bottom.
Oh my god, why is that perfect synopsis of this book?
Right?
Like, oh my god.
But yeah, their relationship, in my opinion, is probably one of the most heavily pushed ships in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
And even in the community, there are so many comics.
They're in the upper queer couple echelon of Genshin, along with Mingguang Beidou and Yu Lamber. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned that there's so many comics, Al. Travelers on our website this week, our artist spotlight is actually one of my favorite Xiangyun Xingqiu comic artists, who is called Noran B. And we have them like linked on our website, but they are amazing. And they draw the cutest like Xingqiu and Xiangyun art with them at starting off as like the older teens, young adults that they are now in game, into when they're actually adults, and how their relationship kind of escalates and elevates from there. And it's so sweet. It is one of my favorite comics ever for all of Genshin. And there's a lot of comics out there. But there's this weird like sweetness to the two of these characters together as well. Even though, like I just said, sometimes Xingqiu seems to be a bit of an ass towards Xiangyun. They seem so loving. I don't know, there's something very sweet and like heartwarming about the two of them together.
Yeah, definitely.
But relationships aside, maybe we should talk about some other relations that Xingqiu has with people. I know he's very closely associated with Zhongling and Hu Tao as well.
Yeah, and I think that might just be because he's buds with Hu Tao, right? I don't know if he knows Zhongli as well as like his bud Hu Tao.
Well, I know he mentions Zhongli having meetings or being in meetings with his father and brother.
Oh, that's right.
And he says,
Ooh.
he mentions that Zhongli sometimes plans funerals for adepti, which means that he must have some really powerful connections.
Mm-hmm.
But he obviously doesn't know who Zhongli really is.
Right. And he also mentions that his dad and brother treat Zhongli like he's a man of power, and he's not sure why. And he actually says that he wants to
so maybe they
investigate
know.
it. Yeah, which I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. I have a theory too. I don't usually have crazy theories, but I have a crazy theory, and I'll talk about that later.
Okay, you say that, but like most of your theories when we're talking in Discord are fucking crack.
Yeah, but those are the
You just
unfiltered.
haven't said it on the pod.
Those are unfiltered theories. So there is a lot of like question with Zhongli for Xingqiu. He is very like, there's something about this man, I need to find out more. But to go back to Hu Tao, you know, it's funny because I think they're connected through writing, because Hu Tao is a poet.
Hu Tao's a poet?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Hu Tao's a poet. She often writes poems and spends a lot of her time composing new poems. And if she weren't the head of the funeral parlor, she would most likely be writing poetry as a job.
Yeah, right. You know that song she's always singing is one of her shitty poems.
Hey, but they work.
Love that song.
Hilly churl. Hilly churl.
Haley chili, Haley churls.
But Hu Tao's voice line about Xingqiu is actually about the fact that she heard that he wrote a book. So I'm assuming that they've talked about that, since not a lot of people seem to know that Xingqiu wrote a book, because he does have a alias when he's writing.
Oh, what's his alias?
Yes, his alias is Zhenyu.
Oh, wow. He went real far off from his real name.
It means either pillow of jade or shower, depending on your source.
Again, so similar.
Wait, either way.
Well,
is he
I read that it's a
Shongyun's?
homonym in one source, but if you look it up, it translates to like shower, like a rain shower,
Oh,
Allison.
not a golden shower. Ow.
I thought of Jade Pillow.
She goes Shongyun shower.
Oh, a shocking shower.
Right.
No, I was gonna say, is he Shongyun's Jade Pillow?
I'm like,
Don't look at me. Oh my God.
But yeah, I think people that looked at the way it was written in Chinese, some sources say that it translates to pillow of jade, or maybe possibly both if it's like a homonym. But yeah, like a pillow of jade makes sense, like someone who sleeps on a pillow of jade, you know,
Okay.
like as in rich, or also as a Justin Liwei.
yeah, that's a good point too, because someone does say that, like, I forget whose voice line it is, but they say something like he was born into like a cushy, wealthy family, basically.
Yeah, he's extremely wealthy.
A diamond spoon.
He's got the biggest, silverest spoons.
But rain shower makes even more sense to me.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a lot more wholesome and cute than what I thought.
So you got Shongyun, you've got Hu Tao, you've got his suspicions about Zhongli. He's also very suspicious of Chi-Chi. He's like, there's something about that little girl. She's not normal. We need to get Baiju to make like a home call and leave her behind so we can go talk to her.
Yeah, because Baiju won't let anyone talk to her.
Do they not know she's a zombie? Oh.
I think we
I mean,
know.
Hu Tao
Ganyu
knows, right?
Well, Hu Tao also has a weird connection to like the Great Beyond.
Yeah, I thought Hu Tao didn't like Chi-Chi because it's like people are supposed to stay dead.
She wants to bury her.
Yeah, she wants to like legit like knock her with a shovel and bury her undead. 'Cause
Terrifying.
she's not alive.
Yeah, but Xingqiu doesn't know.
True.
Which is a little weird because, you know, aren't they friends?
Yeah, I imagine like the three of them like skipping around, little hooligans in leeway, like, you know, throwing
Hooligans.
rocks at stuff. Yeah.
I think their third wheel is more so Zhongling than Hu Tao.
Oh, okay.
And also, I just want to say, Shongyun has a similar voice line about Chi-Chi, and he says, she looks like a zombie, but as an exorcist, I feel there's something different about her. Her name is also absent from all the praised names I've seen. Where exactly does she fit in among the deities? So Shongyun seems to think that she's a god almost, or an
Oh.
adepti.
Interesting.
It could be. I mean, we don't know much about Chi-Chi's past before death.
She's the unknown god.
No.
Oh no, God.
I like to name everybody as the unknown god at some point.
We got to do a Chi-Chi episode at some point.
Vanessa would kill us if we never did a Chi-Chi episode.
It's true.
Not the Dandelion Knight, Vanessa.
Nah,
Our friend Vanessa.
Vanessa, aka Jolly.
The Dandelion Knight might also get mad at us. I don't know.
She might. Mhm.
A last really interesting person that we know of, at least, that Xingqiu has relations with is Albedo, my boy.
Oh, goodness.
His illustrator.
Relations keeps making me think like relations.
No, that's relationship.
No, but it doesn't yeah. My mind is gonna go sit in the gutter. I'll be back later.
I'm just sitting here on mute. Yada
Enjoy,
yada yada.
It will be-
We love the gutter. It's where we go.
I
for
hope Chi-Chi
snot.
carries you back.
Chi-Chi, super strong, super fucking fuerte.
So Xingqiu, like Brandon said, writes these books, and Albedo is actually the illustrator for said books. And Albedo and Xingqiu have actually never met in person up until the Iridori Festival in Inazuma, which happened in the fall of 2022. Was it
It's like
fall?
us,
Mhm.
but future us.
Future us
As
when we
you-
meet.
Yeah, because like y'all know each other because y'all live very close. I'm in Florida.
Yeah, I guess for those of you that don't know, like, we don't record this in person? Question mark? Like, we're like kind of scattered.
Scattered to the winds.
We're friends who
Rain
met
cutter.
because of Genshin. So, you know, just like Albedo and Xingqiu. They met because of
Exactly.
Genshin.
Now, Albedo went by a pseudonym as well, right?
Calx. Calx, which means chalk.
Really? He could have just gone with cock. Like CHAULK. Like he could have done anything else, but he chose that.
It means chalk. It had a lot of sentiment to him.
He's made of chalk.
He is made of chalk.
Speaking of the Iridori Festival, that was the one shocking moment where we don't see Xingqiu and Shangyun together.
Yes, it was like
Oh,
Bro didn't get to bring
yeah.
his boyfriend on his trip. He had to bring that stupid assistant guy.
Well, because his family didn't know why he was going, right? Like he had to like come up with some excuse to be there.
Oh,
Yeah, kimono silks, y'all.
Yeah. So they didn't know he was going there for that reason.
True.
And then just we find out that he has very bad handwriting and can't even sign his own books.
You
Oh, I
want to know
feel
the
that.
worst
Oh.
part about the handwriting thing, though? They've been hinting to us that Xingqiu has horrible handwriting the entire time. There's a point in one of the quests where Xingqiu gives us a note, and Paimon literally is like, I can't read this. And Traveler assumes that's some ancient language.
This is just my day-to-day. Look, when you're a genius and very smart, you don't have time. Your hand will not keep up with your mind. So it looks like squiggles, like Russian cursive. The shit you can't doctor handwriting.
But also there's like a bulletin board that some people write notes on in Leeway and Leave, and there's a note on there that is assumed to be from Xingqiu that also can't be read.
Well, also when he got his vision from, having this epiphany about the Guhua Arts, and he like pens this mantra thing that is so revered and makes the Guhua head cry. And it's, all about this sort of ideal that the clan upholds. And he writes it down, but then the clan leader will never show it to anyone because the handwriting is so dreadful that he can't. It's so cringe that the message is so beautiful, but the handwriting is so disgusting that he won't let anyone ever see it.
Nasty boy.
Disappointment on your home, on your cow, on your
Like his handwriting's so bad it's shameful.
It's shameful.
Wait, doesn't Venti make fun of him at one point for it? Or am I just imagining that?
I'm pretty sure he does. Yeah, because for travelers who did not play the Iridori Festival, which was it was great. It was a limited time event. And basically, after Inazuma has reopened its borders and is allowing people to come back in, they invite some artists, creatives, and well-known people from throughout Teyvat to come into Inazuma for like a book festival, basically. It's run by Yaimiko, and the Kamisatos, like they kind of co-sponsor it with Yaimiko and the publishing house. And they invite Venti the Bard. Well, Venti doesn't get invited. He sneaks away in the wine ship and gets drunk. And is then found by Kujo Sarah.
It's so appropriate.
I'm just gonna have this full-on Sauvignon Blanc and like, bang!
Xingqiu and Albedo are both invited as the author and artists of one of the sponsored books, basically, the big book at the event. And Klee comes along too because no one can babysit her. So Albedo's like, I guess I gotta bring my sister. And
yeah. And little does he know that her mother's there and can't even go hang out with her.
Yeah, that is also
That's so
true.
Sad.
Sussy. Alice, she does not want anything to do with that kid.
But, there's a lot of really awesome interactions. But in relations to Xingqiu, we find Xingqiu asleep on the dock. And we're like, hey, bruh, what's going on? You good? And he basically pulls us aside and he's like, listen, they want me to sign a bunch of these books in advance because my handwriting is so bad that they don't want me to sign them in person because they don't want people to know how bad my handwriting is. And he's been staying up all night, very slowly signing like hundreds of books. And basically, Venti, Albedo, Kazuha, and us all figure out a way to create a stamp for him instead. And I think Albedo carves the stamp for him.
Yeah. He doesn't have the stamina to sign the books.
It's really cute because he's throughout everything about him in this game, it's reiterated over and over that he's basically really good at everything. He's almost like a little genius.
Mm-hmm.
And from the time that he was a kid, he's like very precocious and like could do anything. And so I think it's really endearing that something as basic as handwriting is just like, he's so terrible at it.
Yeah.
He was too busy doing other things, that's all.
Exactly. He was, revitalizing the Guhua clan. And also, he just got saved from years of carpal tunnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. Trying to sign all those books may have given him carpal tunnel in one day, honestly.
Exactly. Just stamp it. Boop, 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 boop. It's perfect.
But that's also when we really get to see for the first time how popular his book is. And we find out that it's also pretty popular in Fontaine, which is like super interesting because I know there were a lot of, I don't want to say silly theories, but like outlandish theories that like Xingqiu could be like the Fontaine god at one point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were like very baseless and like pipe dreamy, but it was great. I enjoyed reading about them anyway. So I think it's interesting that they are connecting him to Fontaine, especially since he's a Hydro character.
And it's something that you see within the game, even before Sumeru opened up, where they do this like almost like a little blitz of starting to really like, you know, people start talking about it. So it was very obvious that Sumeru was coming up next because all of a sudden everybody had something to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, same thing with Fontaine, once that was kind of in the works, all of a sudden like little NPCs and stuff like that always just kept on mentioning it. I thought it was a good way to kind of tie them together because maybe then we will see him go, maybe they'll have another book festival up there.
Yeah. Ooh, that would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun if they brought that back. One fun little fact is that allegedly one of Kokomi's idol animations, she's reading a book, and allegedly that's one of the volumes of Legend of Sword.
Oh, really?
Of course she's a stan. Remember when Goru went to pick up books for her and Yae Miko tortured his soul?
Oh, poor Goru.
I like how a lot of stuff in this game revolves around books on occasion too.
Oh, a lot.
We have so
Yeah.
many books that we have to find, A, but B, we've met authors, we've met a lot of people writing books and researchers, not just from Sumeru, but during the Surumi Island quest, like the woman that we're going back and reporting back to, she's writing a book, she's an author. It's very interesting how important literature is.
And throughout our lore.
There was one time too where I was in Inazuma and I was constantly doing the same daily of talking to the authors. And I was like, oh my, I'm like, there's so many, I'm like, people just read so many books here.
Yes.
And I think it was maybe you fiends, or it was just like, well, it's not like they have TV. Like they need to entertain themselves somehow.
It's either that or war.
Speaking of books that are important, there's Chang the Ninth in Shinsei Village. He actually has a book about Guhua that was also very popular in Inazuma and actually won the Yae Publishing House annual contest.
Ooh, competition?
Yes, and it is called The First Apprentice of Guhua. Just some fun facts about Chang. His family used to own a mining business, and he used to live in Liyue Harbor, so he used to live around the Feiyun Commerce Guild. I'm assuming that he would always use Feiyun as his publisher. I know that there's a daily commission where you take his entry to the, that competition to the Feiyun Commerce Guild. Like that's that one, that damn commission that you're constantly getting, where you have to go to Shinsei Village, get the book, then go back to Liyue Harbor and turn it in, and you can actually take a peek at it or not. So that's that whole commission where he's like submitting that.
Is there a possibility then that his brother and father didn't publish his book because they already had a book that was too similar in Liyue?
Guhua's involved, but remember, Xingqiu's book isn't about Guhua.
Oh, that's true, right? It's about space.
So his book is about Guhua, which is interesting because it's popular in Inazuma, but I think that's because the first apprentice of Guhua was in the book is from Inazuma.
Oh, okay.
So that the characters from Inazuma, so then it becomes popular there. And just a fun little chasm shout out is in a part of his lore is his family used to own a well-to-do mining business that shut down when the chasm closed.
Oh, okay.
Then he sort of went broke and had to move back to Shinsei Village, which is a big part of Xingqiu's story quest, where he's like trying to do all these things to help Chang the Ninth out, because Chang the Ninth has the last chapter of this other book that he wrote called Legend of the Shattered Halberd that Xingqiu's obsessed with.
Oh, yeah, and he wants to read it, and it's like really hard to get your hands on, right?
Right. Like no one has this last volume of it except the author himself, Chang the Ninth. That's when Xingqiu like goes through all these things, like fights the Fatui and uses his resources of the Feiyun Commerce Guild to basically get, help Chang the Ninth out. And that's how he gets a hold of the last volume of it. And if any of you have never read Legend of the Shattered Halberd, I have not read it, but each volume has a little summary section at the front of it. And I I was reading that today for each volume, and it's very interesting. Kind of want to go back and revisit it because it almost seems like it might be one of those parable masquerading as real life in Teyvat events, which is weird because this was something written, in this timeline by Chang the Ninth. So I guess that would make him like a seer or something, but I just found it very interesting. I highly suggest going and checking out Legend of the Shattered Halberd.
So, Brandon, you've actually brought up a lot of things that relate back to this theory I have. So I'm going to jump into it. So I saw this theory from a Twitter user called Shangyam. I will make sure to link to them on our website. They have everything completely laid out on AO3, but they also have it on their Twitter, their Instagram, and their Tumblr account. So I'll make sure to link, or Tiff will make sure to link to everything on the webpage as well. So you guys could actually get a deep dive into this because it's really interesting and big. And I'm not going to cover it all, but there is a theory from this user, and a lot of people agree with it, that there is a chance that Xingqiu's older brother is Pantalone, the Fatui Harbinger.
Go on.
So we don't know a lot about Xingqiu's older brother. We don't know a name. We haven't seen him. He hasn't been alluded to at all. And the same can be said for Pantalone. Well, Pantalone is actually involved in Yelan's story quest. I don't know if everyone's done Yelan's story quest, so spoiler warning. But in Yelan's story quest, we're interviewing for this person who's going to take over this role in the Qixing. But we end up on this crazy hunt to get this guy who's got explosives in a cave in Liyue. It's this whole crazy stunt. And it's actually a mission, or whatever you want to call it, that Pantalone has started, but he's never seen. And Yelan also talks about Pantalone because he is the regrader. She talks about how she actually intercepted one of his trading routes or something, and that's how she got the white jacket that she wears. But she never actually saw the regrader or saw Pantalone. So Pantalone is known to be in Liyue. It is well established that he is not in the homeland, and that is something that the Knave says in the Schneznayan funeral clip that we saw on YouTube over the summer. She says something about how he's one of the harbingers who don't work in the homeland, and how there are a few of them who are always trying to be out of the homeland.
And Pantalone is the one with the glasses, right?
Yes, he's the Baiju lookalike, the emo Baiju.
Right.
Hot man who absolutely tops Dodore.
There's also, most of the harbingers aren't recognizable. People tend to know Child, Signora, and Dodore because they've made themselves well known. But in the Unreconciled Stars event, Mona and Fischl don't know that Scaramouche is a harbinger until, Mona has her astrology vibes and is he's gonna kill us. We gotta go. So there's that. But also there's a lot of rumor. Obviously, Pantalone is a businessman of some sort. He is the one who brings in all the money for the Fatui. He actually is pretty much known to be funding the Fatui. I believe Child mentions that. And Child mentions that he does fund most of their bigger projects. So he is a well-known businessman. He is well-established. He's really interested in fair trade. And during the Chang the Ninth questline with Xingqiu that you were just talking about, Brandon, Xingqiu feels like he has to pay back Chang the Ninth, and he says something about fair trade in it. So it's interesting because Pantalone thinks about fair trade a lot. Xingqiu's talking about fair trade. Also, something funny that they connected is that Chang the Ninth and then Pantalone is the ninth Fatui Harbinger. Just a little, stupid fun fact, I guess.
That would be a really big twist, I will say, because Xingqiu thinks of his brother as a simpleton.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's really that cunning and smart, it would be a big reveal for Xingqiu for sure.
Yeah, it's really funny because I believe it's Skara says about the regrader, the ninth ranked guy, he's obsessed with the idea of fair exchange to the point of wanting to overthrow the natural imbalance. But I guess it's just how ordinary mortals are. It's easy for them to come up with pointless delusions. Honestly, it's nothing worth writing home about. Just like there's nothing impressive about his ability or choice of partner. Anyone who chooses to work closely with the doctor is sure to mean a nasty end. Child says that the regrader has a head full of grandiose plans fueled by raw ambitions, and that he doesn't understand a word he says once he starts talking about theories.
Oh, so he's us.
And what's also interesting, though, is that Xingqiu's brother, there's one of the voice lines that you find. Xingqiu's elder brother, while he was learning the family business from their father, firmly believed the Xingqiu would become a great asset to the business one day, which is maybe suggested that Pantalone is going to be with the Fatui and isn't going to take over the business. So he might be gaining all this experience from the father and from the guild, but he doesn't plan on taking it over. There also is mention, and I kind of said something about this earlier, how the guild is very close to the Northland Bank, where the Fatui do a lot of their dealings. So it'd be very easy for him to go back and forth between the two buildings unannounced and unseen. And additionally, the bank is actually located on the second floor of that building, and we don't know what is in the first floor. So there's a chance too that he could be going in through the downstairs, that could be an extension of the bank. We don't really know. On top of that, we know that Dodoray was able to use a disguise in the Scaramouche Archon quest from Sumeru. We find out that, he disguised himself. So there's totally a chance that all the Fatui could do that if needed. And we do know Pantalone is very closely associated with Dodoray. So yeah, there's a lot more to it that kind of goes into some other NPC storylines, some more things that other people say as well. I'm going to leave it at that, and you guys could read more about it. You don't have to, just hear me kind of giving back Shang Yum's theory, basically. But it's really interesting, and I hope that they do something with that in the future, and I hope that Yanlan is involved. I know a lot of people, before Yanlan was officially released, thought that Xingqiu and her would be related somehow.
It's the hair.
It is the hair. The fact that they're both Hydro. Even though one's a archer and the other is a swordsman, they have similar burst animations and things. I should say burst animations, but their movements are very similar. So there's still a chance that they could have a better relationship than we know of. I know that Yanlan says about Xingqiu, who knows, maybe one day he'll be outsmarting everyone around him too. So I don't know if that's in reference to herself, in reference to his brother. I don't know who that's in reference to, who the two
Probably
is.
herself.
So yeah, there's a lot of things, but I hope that they do announce Pantalone as his brother and that they kill him off, basically. Because, Skara kind of hinted at it. Anyone to work with the doctor is likely to meet a bad end. So
this is the part of the show where Feeney discusses who she wants to die.
Yes, again. So I would like Pantalone to die, and I would like for Xingqiu to kind of have to deal with, because I think Xingqiu is going to be really important somehow. I would like for him to have kind of this threefold emotional thing where he's like, my brother's dead, my brother was a harbinger, and now I have to take over the family business. Fuck.
There might even be more to that, because and this again is a theory with very little evidence that I'm going to bounce off. If Pantalone is Xingqiu's older brother who's learning to take over the Feiyun Commerce Guild, for some reason, because the way Yelan talks of how Xingqiu is somewhat Batman level intelligence and sneaky shit, knows a lot of martial arts, again back to the Dark Knight of Leeway, I feel like he might be using part of the Feiyun Commerce Guild to fund and operate the secret organization Diluc is a part of to take down the Fatui.
Oh,
what if he already knows his brother, aka Pantalone, is a Fatui harbinger and is working from inside to take him down?
Now, see, I do like this theory. The Pantalone theory is cool, but the theory that I really love is that the Feiyun Commerce Guild is involved in this spy organization, because I think that Yelan is a part of that as well. And Yelan is known to be involved with the Feiyun Commerce Guild because Xingqiu mentions her having meetings with them, I believe.
Right. I think it was in the little web event when Yelan just came out, where you're basically being a detective and seeing what character out of 3 are the likely criminal. And I think it's the Feiyun Commerce Guild that, requests her help. So I think it is really interconnected. And you gotta think Diluc is getting all this information, and that takes a lot of money, a lot of time. Who would be funding that? The Feiyun Commerce Guild. Because to me, it makes sense, but there's still so little evidence
they're
of both.
One of the richest, if not the richest, besides Ningguang, one of the richest families or businesses
in the world.
In Teyvat, I would think. Yeah. Because Diluc's already the richest person in Mondstadt.
Mm-hmm.
So, if he's going to have this network or like people to help provide resources, if you're going to go to the next region over, that would be the obvious place to start.
Exactly.
If we think that his brother could be Pantalone and involved in the Harbingers, do we think that maybe the father is then too? Since we have no information about him or a name or anything like that, do you think he could be somewhere?
Well,
in
that's
that
what I'm
mix of
thinking,
people?
because the brother hasn't technically taken over yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's Xingqiu's father that's Pantalone? During the Harbinger trailer, he did look a bit older. And again, age in this game is weird. People who are 500 years old are weird. I don't know if he's like contemporary with the timeline, like Dodore.
And the mom found out, and that's why she disappeared.
Yeah,
Exactly.
he looks like an emo Trent Reznor.
Yeah.
Isn't Trent Reznor already emo?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, it is amazing though how much he does look like Baiju. I looked it up once you said that, and it's actually really funny. It's like they used the same model and just swapped out the hair.
I like the idea that he's somehow in cahoots or controlling Xingqiu's father.
That could definitely be it.
That Xingqiu's father, is like in control in name only, but that Pantalone is the one who's pulling all the strings.
I mean, there's also, and I know this has nothing to do with Xingqiu, but there's also the possibility that Baiju is Pantalone and that his Baiju look is his costume that he's using to conceal who he really is.
Where are you going to hide the snake?
Yeah, but if you were going to make a costume and hide yourself, wouldn't you be a little bit less like yourself?
I don't know. The snake is actually Dodore.
That snake is actually his penis.
No, it's Dodore, God damn it.
The snake is where he hides his evil look.
Yeah, but like let's just take like 2 seconds to think about that. If everyone's like, let Baiju out of the basement, what a fucking twist it would be. Baiju's in the basement because he's Pantalone. And it would make sense too, because Chi-Chi, right? Everyone thinks that Baiju having a relationship with Chi-Chi is sus because Baiju is like searching for eternal life. So wouldn't that make sense since Pantalone works closely with Dodore and Dodore is all about like segmentations of life and living forever because he's already been living forever, that maybe he would ask Pantalone to help him with that, and when he's undercover. I don't know, it's just a thought.
I think Pantalone is just using Dodore as a very submissive bottom and only cares about him in that sense. Everything goes back to smut, don't worry about it.
I'm dead.
They like to practice martial arts together.
I'm dead. So I'm going to take a step back. I know I brought it here, but are there any final thoughts about Xingqiu?
In case anyone's curious, I did just want to include the other known members of the Guhua clan, which there are hardly any, but there are 2 that you run into that are current members in Huaguang Stone Forest, which are Sun Yu and...
Oh my god, okay. Yep.
Little Chuyer? Yes. And Sun Yu is like, I don't know why she's so cranky, and Little Chueyer's like a total asshole if you get anywhere close to Sun Yu, like a little stalkery much. First of all, I love that Little Chuyer is like spelled like queer with an apostrophe in the middle. But yeah, so Sun Yu actually used to be Xingqiu's senior disciple within the clan. And then Xingqiu, of course, had his epiphany and like sort of rose in the ranks, I would think. But Sun Yu is like a sort of senior member of the clan at the moment. And Little Chuyer is like his junior partner. And then there are 2 former members that we know about in Liyue Harbor. And one of those is Chen the Sharp, the food vendor right by the main waypoint. And the other is Jiruo, I don't know how to pronounce it, who is a waitress at Third Round Knockout, the one that's constantly getting railed on by her boss.
Yeah.
Who's like, I can't believe how incompetent you are. Meanwhile, like she could chop your head off if she wanted to.
Literally, like what?
So yeah, those are 2 former members, and those are the only ones that we know about.
Interesting that they're former members too. Like, why'd they leave?
Well, I know. So Chen the Sharp actually talks about that, how, a lot of people think that it's a waste of his skill to be a chef or a food vendor. And he says, well, actually, in the Guhua teachings is that, the even small menial tasks that bring comfort can be just as important as, fighting and that kind of thing. So the first food that he had when he left the clan was the same fish he uses or that he sells now. And he actually uses his blade work to like quickly prepare the food that he makes.
Imagine walking into a restaurant, seeing someone like with elegant swordsmanship making you fish.
Day? I'm hungry.
Like super fast, like that. You're like, you blink and it's all prepared.
With like hydro swords. You're like, what the? I know, it would be really fun.
There's one other thing about going back to this same topic that's come up in the last few episodes, which is when did visions start being granted?
Mm-hmm.
So Xingqiu has a voice line where he says, there aren't many records on matters concerning visions, but I do have a passage dedicated to the topic in my collection of ancient texts. So whatever constitutes ancient texts, they were mentioned in that. So apparently they've been being handed out for, or at least existed for quite a while.
That's also really interesting. And I hope that they start to give us more lore on that. Or at least I really do hope that we see more of Xingqiu, and whether that means we see him and learn more about visions, we see him and learn that his brother is evil, we actually meet one of his family members, we find out if he killed his mom with a carrot, like we see him and Shangyu kiss, like there's a lot I want to see.
Stabbed her right in the throat with a carrot.
Right in the jugular. But yeah, I really hope that we get to see more of Xingqiu. I hope that maybe he gets a hangout. I know technically he already had a story quest, but it would be really fun to do a hangout with him and learn a little bit more about him.
Give us a new outfit. Fix his hair. Look, I just want something cute in his hair, but fix it. But like, what if he can have more?
I like his hair.
I like his outfit. I mean, his sleeves are a little ridiculous, but I love his boots.
Fun fact, in my Genshin OC that I've mentioned a lot, Nat is really good friends with Xingqiu, and Xingqiu actually cuts her hair for her and gives her a very similar crooked cut. And that's why Nat has a crooked cut, because she thinks it's cool, because Xingqiu basically told her it was cool as a prank and did it. And even though it's a little longer and you can't see it as much, she has like the crooked cut. Because she grew up in Snezhnaya and she had really long hair. Her family was like very politically involved in Snezhnaya, so she followed a lot more traditional looks. And so she finally is like ready to cut off her hair, and Xingqiu's like, I got you. We're gonna do this. So that's my fun fact about Xingqiu's hair.
His hair is kind of emo, right?
Oh yeah.
So that leads to the whole Pantalone theory.
Longer. Exactly.
The shorts aren't though. The shorts are not emo.
I mean, they could be.
I have a problem with all the shorts, apparently.
Yeah, you're not a
game.
short fan in this game.
I'm not. Like, they fit him, though, because he's, like, this little dainty little guy. But, like, Sino, that voice, those shorts.
You like kooky shorts.
I like cookie shorts. She's got a good booty.
It shows all her ass. Her booty.
Cookie's got the best butt in the game. Oh, okay. Aside from Rosaria.
Whose ass is the best ass in Genshin?
Rosaria's got the best butt.
I'm going to say it's Mona.
I don't know. They're pretty close, Rosaria and Mona.
If anyone puts Kaya on there, you will be cursed with a flat ass for the rest of your life.
Who has the best ass?
You're getting blocked.
If you break down the model and take off Albedo's coat, he has a little butt too. That's cute. But butts aside, I do think that that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, travelers, for coming down this road with us. We had some wild theories. We went down some interesting paths, but we hope you enjoyed the episode. Feel free to let us know what you thought of today's episode by following us on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or following us on Twitter, Tales of Teyvat, and let us know what you thought today. Do you think that Xingqiu's brother is Pantalone? Do you think that Rosaria or Mona has the best butt? What are your thoughts on his hair? We need to know. So please let us know. You can also send us an email, talesoftevatpod@gmail.com. Let us know if you'd like to hear more about Xingqiu or more about Leeway and other topics like that. Next week, we're going to be deep diving even further. We're going to be talking about Scaramouche, the Wanderer, and everything that comes in between. So please join us next week for that. Otherwise, travelers, safe journeys. We'll see you next week.
Bye, Raincutter Nerds.